And day one today is goals. So I will go ahead and start the video regarding goals. I have it queued up here. Share my screen. And I'll meet you on the other side. Take notes, grab a pen, a piece of paper. Let me know what questions you have. I'll have a little bit more that I'll go over after the video, but definitely interactive, want to know what you're thinking and how we can be helping you.
The lesson that we're going to do right now could have a greater impact on your life than anything else. It certainly did on mine. You receive a little goal card. This is where you sit down and write out what you want on a card. And then you carry it loose in your purse or your pocket. Now, on one side, we've got here, change is inevitable, but personal growth is a choice, and it is. Do you know that you could wander up and down the streets of any city, anywhere in the world, and ask one person after another, what is their goal? And they'll look at you, and odds are pretty good they'll say, what do you mean? And if by chance you find someone that has a clearly defined goal, ask if they've got it in writing. And again, odds are pretty good they won't. If you decide what you want, and you write it on the card, and you carry it with you, I guarantee you it must happen. It absolutely must happen in your life. Now, why do we have goals? See, the average individual would say we have a goal to get more, get a better house, get a bigger house, get a boat, get more money. No, that may be a result of the goal. You may, accumulate more in your life and nicer and better things. But the real purpose of a goal is to grow. It causes you to draw something out of yourself that you didn't even know was there. Now, when we set a goal, we're going after something we want. And if you know how to reach it, it's the wrong goal. Now, that probably sounds pretty silly. When you set a goal, you're going after something you want. And if you know how to reach it, it's probably the wrong goal. You're going sideways. I always mention that goals fall into three categories. I refer to it as A, B, and C. A-type goals are doing something you already know how to do. And I use an example in a program that I wrote about a young man that came to me and he asked me if I'd talk to him about his goal. And I said, sure, what's your goal? He said, I want to get a new car. And I said, well, that's okay. I said, what kind of a car do you want? He said, a new Pontiac. I said, well, Pontiac's a nice car. I've had a Pontiac. And I said, what are you driving now? And he said, a Pontiac. Really? I said, how long have you had it? And he said, 4 years. I said, how old's the Pontiac? He said, 4 years old. And I said, then what you're telling me is that you have had a new Pontiac that you bought 4 years ago. You bought it new. He said, that's right. And I said, that's not a good goal because you've known for 4 years how to do that. There's going to be no growth attached to it. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't get a new Pontiac, but it would not constitute a goal. A goal is something that you're going to go after you've never done before. Now, when people move away from A-type goals, they generally go to B-type goals. And that's where they sit down and they gather all the information they've got, all the resources they've got, and they say, if all these things happen, then I could accomplish this. And they make a plan. They've got an absolutely beautiful plan. They've got the plan, and if all these things happen, then I can accomplish this. This is what they think they can do. You see, the A-type is what they know they can do. B is what they think they can do. Now, do you know that there's no inspiration in going after something like that? Absolutely none. And if you're going to really accomplish something, you're going to have to be inspired. You're going to have to pull on something that you haven't pulled on before. I mean, it's going to have to come from inside. See, people go after B-type goals. They get going and they get bored. They're not inspired. And so they quit. They give up. Now, the C-type goal is wants. And what you want, I'm talking about what you really want. Most people say, I don't know what I want. I don't believe that. I think you do know what you want. I think you're rejecting it before you give it any serious thought. To decide what you want, you've got to sit down and totally relax. And then you have to let your imagination wander. When you're going after wants, you're dealing with fantasy. See, the one, you're going after what you know. The other one, you're going after what you think you can do. And the wants is fantasy. Now, we have been conditioned as kids that fantasy is just for little kids. You don't fantasize. You've got to know how things are going to happen. But you see, you and I are the only creature on the planet, so far as we know, that can fantasize. Ed Hillary fantasized that he would stand on top of the world and he climbed Mount Everest. The Wright brothers, a couple of ordinary bicycle mechanics, they fantasized they'd introduce us to a new kingdom, and they did. Now think of this for a moment. What do you fantasize? See, as a little kid, you could fantasize, and your mother and dad let you do that because it got you out under their feet. You'd sit down in front of the kitchen cupboards with pots and pans, and God knows only what you did with it. But then you went to school. Bob, pay attention. You say, your mind's wandering. Will you quit looking out the window and listen to what I'm telling you? And you see, we'd get punished, and pretty soon we stopped fantasizing. We put our imagination away, and we stopped using it. Do you know, Napoleon Hill said the imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. Don't you find it strange that we have great, huge companies, big multinationals with small creative departments? We have people wandering around and say, well, I'm not really creative. Writers are creative, musicians are, but I'm really not creative. Everyone is creative. Creativity comes from the root creator, which is within. Everybody's creative. It's a matter, are you expressing your creativity? Well, don't let people steal your dream. When you sit down and decide what you want, you won't know how you're going to get it. The fun is in finding out how you're going to do it. When I set a goal, if it doesn't sort of scare me, I know I'm on the wrong track. See, if you know how you do it, you're going to go sideways. You've got to build a fantasy. You take the fantasy and you move it from fantasy to a theory. You keep playing with it. And you go from fantasy to a theory, and you take and you build an image, and just follow the pyramid that we've got here for you. And you turn it into a theory. Now, that is when we're giving our fantasy some serious consideration. We're starting to use our reasoning mind, and we're starting to give this some serious thought. Now, before we can turn the theory into a goal, we have to ask ourselves a couple of things. Am I able to do this? Am I able? Well, if we believe everything we've been taught by both science and theology, the only two sources of reference we have to go to, we have deep reservoirs of talent. We have infinite potential. Absolutely, I'm able. I don't know how, but I'm able. The second question we have to ask, am I willing? Am I willing to pay the price? Am I willing to do what I have to do to get to where I'm going? See, Ed Hillary had to go to Nepal in 1951, in 1952, and 1953. No one had ever been to the top of Mount Everest. Everyone in the world told him it couldn't be done. Anybody that tried died. But he kept going back. He was willing to do whatever was required, and he got to the top of that mountain. Have you any idea how those two young bicycle mechanics, the Wright brothers, were ridiculed? Told to quit wasting time? Have you any idea how many times people laughed at Edison when he said what he was going to do? He was going to make this incandescent light. Do you know he failed about 10,000 times? He was willing to do that. See, failing at something doesn't make you a failure. You're only a failure when you stop. You could ask, am I able to do this? Yeah, I'm able. Am I willing? Yeah, I'm willing. I am willing to pay the price. At that second, your theory turns into a goal. Now, as you get emotionally involved in the goal, you're going to find that your emotional involvement is going to change your behavior. Yet you're going to find as your behavior changes, the results start to change. And your theory turns into a fact. And once you reach the goal, it turned into a fact. That puts you in a position to build bigger and better fantasies. Now, let's back up a bit. How do you decide what you want? See, that's a pretty big idea. You've got to sit down as an individual and start writing all your wants down. Make it a shopping list. See, I think there's two goals people should have. They should have a personal goal, and then they should have a corporate goal. You might want to sit down with your peers in your department and say, what could we accomplish in this department? It could be the sales department. It might be as a group, collectively, take the sales to a point that would shock the executives in the company. It could be in the machine shop. Let's make this place the most effective machine shop in the world. It could be in the accounting department. Let's make sure everything's right on tap. They're goals. And as we work towards them, we unify our energies. We work together, but we're working towards a point. See, when people are working towards something, they're alive. If they're just working, they don't have any fun. So we've got to sit down and we've got to decide, what do I really want? And start to make a list. You're capable of doing anything. And what we're really doing is raising our level of conscious awareness. And you're going to find when you decide on the thing on the list that you want more than anything, that becomes the star you're shooting at. That's what's written on the card. That becomes the goal. It might be an income, it might be a position, it might be a new home, it might be a trip. That becomes the goal. Yeah, that's what you work towards. And you're forever trying to become more effective so you can raise your consciousness and you become aware of how to do it. It's the same in a department. We have a masterminding session, a brainstorming session. How can we make this department more effective than it is? Now, you're going to find possibly someone say, well, I'm not doing that. Well, then that's okay. They're not part of the group. Don't let another person dictate how you're going to live. Don't let conditions or circumstance dictate. It has nothing to do with what's going on outside of you. It's what's going on inside. George Bernard Shaw said that people are always blaming circumstance for where they are. He said, I don't believe in circumstance. The people that get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. So you absolutely refuse to let anything that's going on outside stop you. Do you know, there's a cute story about the Maharishi and yoga when he was taking his transcendental meditation to the world, or planning to. Someone asked him, "Well, where's all the money going to come from?" He said, "Wherever it is right now." See, nothing's created or destroyed. If nothing's created or destroyed, everything's already here, if not in one state or another. The way to fly airplanes has always been here. Internet, it's always been here. We just weren't aware of how to do it. And as we raise our conscious awareness, we've got it. Nothing is created or destroyed. All science and all theology have taught us that for years. Now, when we really start to understand that, we live in a notion of motion. We're living in a constant evolution of change. But remember when I said personal growth is a choice. You've got to have a goal. You've got to wake up in the morning and get excited. I'm working towards my goal. That's what I'm doing right now, is I'm creating this program with you. I'm working towards a goal. I have a business partner, Sandy Gallagher. She wants to build this worldwide, the corporate division. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we're working towards. That's why we're spending time here right now, building this program. So help you. See, the only way to reach the goal is to provide greater service. And as you provide greater service, you're going to grow. You're going to move ahead. Things inside of you are going to start to happen. An individual that doesn't have a goal is lost. They don't know where they're going. Can you imagine going on a trip and you don't know where you're going? Somebody say, well, where are you going to go? I don't know, west. Where? I mean, you could be going around the world and just going around the world and around the world. Well, where are you going? I'm going west. But when you get there, you still can go west. Imagine driving out of your driveway. You've got no destination. Which way would you turn? You see, we're goal-seeking organisms, every one of us. Have you ever watched a little baby? The baby's goal is to walk. It falls, it bangs its head, it cries, it bleeds, but it doesn't stay down. It gets up and it gets going. And pretty soon it's, look, Mom, I'm walking. Then they get on a bike. And the trick is to balance it, learn how to ride. Pretty soon it's, look, Mom, no hands. But you know what your goal is? Your goal, your real purpose in life is to grow. You want to sit down and ask yourself, what do you really love to do? That's what you're going to get good at. That's what your purpose is going to be all about. That's what your goal is all about. Move toward what you want. Have a personal goal, have a corporate goal. Now, your personal goal and your corporate goal in your department should be consistent with the corporate goal that the executive team set. So you want to make sure, as you go towards the big one, that all your little ones will fall into place. And I guarantee you, you'll set something on fire inside of you that there's nothing like it. Goal achievers are productive individuals. They're happy, they're productive, they're prosperous. They're the ones that make the world change. Don't listen to people that tell you why something can't be done. Don't listen to people that tell you the economy is controlling them. You control the economy. You're God's highest form of creation. Steve Bowe, who was a vice president with the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, said one time something that I have never forgot. He said, God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we'll ever hope to use in our lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. I like that. You might want to take and memorize that. It's done me a lot of good. Now I've shared it with you. Set your goal, get it on your card, bury it in your mind. Tell yourself, I'm able and I'm willing, and then go and do it. That's Bob Proctor. Thank you.
So that is lesson 1 in thinking into results, part of it. And again, we always start with the goal setting, and being in the new year of 2023. I wanted to, again, put this together to talk about goal setting. Once you set your goal, the rest of the week will really be how to achieve it and attain it and keep the momentum going. So I would first love, again, this is interactive. This is as much for you as it is for me, and being able to show up and serve at a high level. So I'd love any ahas or questions, or what you thought of that message.
There was literally so much I couldn't take enough notes. So I want to watch the recording as well. I followed Bob Proctor for as many years as well. So I'm very familiar, and I love the concept. I think the one thing that I did write down was I like the ABC of the goal, right? You know how you think you can, and then C being your dreams and being able to fantasize. And then also, are you able? Yes. But are you willing to do all the things that'll get you there? So that was something that I wrote down.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, I had the fantasy part really hit me too. And then I thought about like how I've actually done that. So an example in myself this week, and I kind of shared this theory about my like jumbo jet in the air, and kind of what does that go to? So it connects to being the connector. Like that's really my big goal, is to connect everybody for anything that they ever could need, and just having that, big sphere. And then I really liked the Napoleon Hill quote that he had said too.
Absolutely.
I literally almost got up and like ran over to the bartender and was like, can I get a piece of paper and a pen? I need to write something down. So I might do that after. The call.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Anyone else? Perfect. Well, yes, and it wasn't until I understood this and really got into the goals and the goal setting. And another thing that Bob talks about is, he says, who do you want to be? And attached to who do you want to be? And he said, who do you really want to be? Not the you think your kids think you should be, not the you think your spouse or significant other or friends think you should be, not the you think your family or relatives think you should be. But if you go in and you look at who do you really want to be, it's finding that out, and then again building these amazing, beautiful goals around that. And what I challenge my clients and people to do is to pick a goal. And that's why we focus on the CGoal. Because if you know how to get it, which we'll get into a lot more tomorrow, is the secret genie, and how your conscious and your subconscious mind work together to put you into action or not action because of your habitual habits and paradigms. But it's understanding all of that and how the mind works, and how, for example, with my past brokerage, they intentionally put big events every quarter that you could fly away to, or you would get involved in with hundreds, if not thousands of other real estate agents. And it was this whole like energy boost and just like a injection. And again, it's purposely every quarter, because what happens is by the time the next one came around, you're usually deflated, or you're sitting back at your desk, not motivated. And that happened to me. I got into real estate in 2014, and that happened to me time and time again, where I'd be setting my goals. It was October or November, and our team would be sitting down and doing our whole workshop planning event. And I'd have these big goals, and then you'd hear these great speakers, and you get really excited and be like, this is my year. I'm going to crush it this year. And then I don't even think it was 2 or 3 weeks later, I was sitting back at my computer, ready to lead gen or ready to do whatever it is that I needed to do in order to get my CGoal. And I was just like, oh, like, I don't feel like doing it, or all the excuses and all the reasons and all the habitual habits and paradigms were telling me why I didn't need to. So it's really about understanding and setting a goal that's worthy of you. So it's not only your goal being your big goal, is it worthy of you? Because what I love about goals, and what I love so much about CGoals that I've learned along my journey, is when you get the goal, because if you do this, and this is a system, it's a process, and if you show up and you plug in and you do what the thinking into results shows you to do or tells you to do, you will get your goal. And that's just a side effect. Because what the beautiful thing is, and where the beauty lies, is who you become in the process of getting that goal. Who you show up as, how you grow, how you work through the terror barrier, which is going to be on the third day, how you work through the uncomfortableness and getting really comfortable being uncomfortable and pushing yourself into the growth. And it's testing your limits and succeeding over and over again, or failing forward. Bob says the only time you're a failure is when you stop. I know he talked about the Wright brothers and Edison and all these people that have made just such impactful discoveries, or just following their intuition and following their fantasies and their imagination, not letting anyone from the outside tear them down to the point where they stop doing it. You see, 90, I would say 90 plus of even the people that are on the Zoom today, of things that you've thought about, or our wants, our desires, or just intentions, are left on the cutting room floor. Because right when you make up this humongous CGoal that's just like so almost scary that you have no idea how it's going to happen, that's when the thoughts come in. Who are you to think you can do that? That would never happen. That doesn't happen to people like us. Well, you would have to do this, this, and this, or, all these things. And that's where Bob talks about how it happens will present itself. Your goal and your, I guess, part of this goal setting process is to just find some goal, your CGoal, that's worthy of you, that gets you excited. It cannot be your spouse's goal. It cannot be your kid's goal. It cannot be your boss's goal. It can't be anyone's goal but your goal, because you have to commit every day. Stubbornly commit, make a just decision that you will show up every day and become the person you need to become in order to get your CGoal. Because I will tell you right now, the person sitting here today on January 16th, 2023 is not the person you will be or need to be in order to get that goal. So it's today, it's starting today to live from as if it's already done. So that's where it gets really fun in this program. And that's where you start thinking into results, because that's where we live so much from the outside in. And that's our hear, see, taste, smell, touch. Everything that's going on around the outside of us is what we're taking in and what we're internalizing and what we're believing. Our higher faculties, however, which is perception, will, imagination, intuition, memory, reason, it's when you plug in and start living from the inside out. And first and foremost, he talks about imagination, fantasizing, really connecting to your goal every day, multiple times a day, as if it's already here and done, and connecting to the vibration. What does that feel like? Who does that person? What do they do? What does their morning routine look like? When they get up, what time do they get up at? And really connecting as if it's here and done. And that's where he talked about the goal card. And I have a goal card, and feel free, if you want a goal card, I can definitely get you one. I have plenty extra ones. And the goal card is where you write your CGoal out in the present tense. It can't be a wish or dream or desire, or it will never be. It's got to be an irrevocable decision as if it's here and done. So it reads, I'm so happy and grateful now that, insert your goal. And then there's a date that you want your goal achieved by. Now, Bob said, he's like, I have only met my date once in the 60 plus years he's been doing this. He's like, the date can move, the goal cannot. If it's a goal that you're really connected to and emotionally involved in, and you will show up every day as if it's day one, not one day, but day one, you're going to show up and you're going to recommit to that goal and to who you have to become and what you need to do in order to start getting those base camp goals. Like he talks about Everest, you don't just start at the bottom and get to the top of the mountain. There's base camps that you have to stop at along the way. So what's your first base camp goal in order to get to your C goal? Have a big C goal. Mine's usually 6 months to a year out. So what can I be doing in the next 30 days, the next 60 days, the next 90 days to move me closer to my C goal? So I'm going to pause there quick because I threw a lot at you. I would love to hear any questions or thoughts, ahas.
I heard this same consistent message from Jay Shetty on a podcast this week where he talks about goals and that you have to have the growth. And one thing that I took away from that, which takes it a little step further, is like focusing on the skill that you're going to need to have the growth. So for me, mine was my daily habits. I had to focus on my daily habits because that's going to create the skill that I need to have the growth to reach that goal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. And what I encourage you to do is truly every day recommit to your daily habits, because that is where I, again, would get really excited, really, as Bob says, jazzed up about my big goal. And I would do it for a couple days, and then slowly it would fade away, or slowly all the reasons why I could never have that, or I was not worthy of that, or who am I to think this, would kind of creep in, or, oh, it's 80 degrees out. I live in Minnesota. It's the first, I want to go boating, or a friend calls me for coffee. And that's where I talk a lot with the new agents that I coach to, is truly about choosing to show up as an entrepreneur or an amateur. So to show up as your CGoal person already done, or show up over and over again as you are today, and not choose growth and not choose to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because I will promise you one thing, 100%, growth does not happen from comfort. It happens from the uncomfortableness. It happens when you push yourself a little. It happens when you push yourself a lot. It happens, again, when you're comfortable getting uncomfortable. And that is so important, and so important to look at failure. If you have a bad, sense, or a bad, when you say failure, you get that inside of you. Find a different perception of failure and embrace it, and learn that if you're not feeling forward, you're not going far enough outside of your comfort zone, and your C goal might not be big enough for you. Because if you can get to your C goal easy enough without getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, and pushing yourself to become someone different, then I really highly doubt it's a CGoal, because a CGoal is something that you really, really want, and you have no idea how it's going to happen. And this is where I lose a lot of people, because you can show up every day and you can have fear or you can have faith. Neither you can see, and you get to choose which one. So instead of living in fear and letting that hold you down and hold you back, what would it look like if you just took a leap of faith and just said, you know what? What's the worst that could happen? No one likes my post, or I screw up and I get made fun of. It's so funny. You know, everyone thinks that, you know, what will they think? Or I don't want to be perceived this way, or, you know, what will all this stuff. The point is, usually we think people are thinking so much about us, and they're truly probably not thinking much at all about us. Or if they see something, because we are so attached to the outcome, are so attached to being perceived in you know, a certain way, that we put all of that out there truly to people, and what they see versus what we think. A lot of them aren't even really thinking about us. So it's, why not go for it? Why not put it out there? And I have learned in real estate, in life, in coaching, in all of this, like energy attracts like energy. And I am not everyone's person. And I am not everyone's real estate agent. And I'm not everyone's coach. And that's okay. Because if you are everything to everyone, then you might be really spending a lot of energy and time and effort, and that will lead to burnout. Because if you are not finding your lane, the lane that lights you up, that you serve well in, that you have that lightness and that just like feeling of, this is why I'm doing this, I'm on purpose. If you haven't found that, and if it's all just, I have to go to work, I have to do this, I have to do that, I encourage you to find your I get to. Because when you replace I have to with I get to, everything changes. And it is such a beautiful place to come from. And it is just, it changed everything for me. And it's scary to get there. It's scary to let go of stuff that you think you have to do, or that's the way it is. And it's so much, and all of us have these blinders on, where this is just the way we do it, why we do it, how we've done it, and it's how you show up every day. And it's not until you take the blinders down and you kind of look around, you're like, oh my gosh. And that's why, another reason, we live in the best time ever. I mean, look at all the information we have at our fingertips. And it's so important to seek out and find that mentor or that coach that can see in you what you don't see in yourself right now, to be able to give you the 360 view, because our heads can't spin around. And that's why you need someone that will take you off the 50-foot view and look at it from the 5,000-foot view, and then the 50,000 view. And I can go so many different, I want to go to quantum leaps, I want to go here, I want to go there, but we're looking at the goals. So the goal card, once you write it out, and even if you don't have a goal card, just grab a piece of paper, write the date that you want your CGoal by, and start it with, I'm so happy and grateful now that, and state it as if it's already here and done, and carry that with you. So what happens is, every time you touch that goal card and you read it throughout the day, you're sending a message to your subconscious. And you're internalizing it, which again, we'll get into more tomorrow. It will make a lot more sense once we talk about the conscious and the subconscious and how it's all connected. But when you wake up in the morning and before you go to bed, that's when your subconscious is the most open. So that's when it's really important to visualize, to close your eyes. And it's not even meditating. If you can't meditate or don't like to meditate, don't. If you do, take that time. But close your eyes and connect to your CGoal as if it's here and done. And I mean, really connect. You have to feel it as if it's here and done. It's connecting. And through doing that over and over and through the repetition, you will impress upon your subconscious that it's already here and done. And the subconscious does not know the difference. It cannot reject anything. Your conscious mind is your learned mind. That's where all this information is coming in, what we're hearing, what we're seeing on Facebook, on the news, all this stuff, all the conversations. That's all the noise. We can accept or reject stuff at the conscious level. Once we've accepted into our consciousness and impress it upon our subconscious, and that's where so many people are just accepting everything around them and letting the circumstances and the economy and all the things going on dictate what they're thinking and feeling. Once you choose your thoughts and really impress upon through imagination, through connecting to your goals if they're already done, and impress over and over and over again into your subconscious has to accept it. And once it's accepted into your subconscious, that is where the beauty begins. And that is where you don't need to know how it will happen, because once you've impressed it upon your subconscious, the people, the circumstances, the money, the opportunities, they will be put in your path. They will show their way. And that is where the faith comes in. And so many people are looking at their bank account. They're looking at what's happening today. They're looking at the news headlines. They're looking at, in our case, the interest rates. They're looking at all these things that are just a lot of noise, and they're letting them dictate, and they're bringing that in, they're pressing on their subconscious. They're in a really whatever vibration they're in because of that information. And because of what's happening or what is today, what is in your bank account, what your results are today, if you focus on that and let that dictate the vibration you're going to be in, it's the circle. You're going to keep getting more of the same and more of the same and more of the same. So what you need to do is disrupt that and start living from the goal as if it's already here and done. And impressing and feeling it. You can't just say words. Another thing you can do is, if you're a visual person, you can record a video. If you're audio, I would record. We all have the recorders on our phones. Write out your CGoal in detail. This is what Thinking Results, a lot of the program does in the beginning. Write out your vision statement. Sit down and let your imagination take off like you haven't let it take off for years, and really write down your goals. Where do you want to be in a year? Where do you want to be living? What do you want to be making? Spiritual wise, health wise, it all encompasses. Look at all the areas of your life and write down your goals for each of them. And then when you're at your highest energy throughout the day, I do it in the morning, walking around. You take your phone and you record, I am so happy and grateful now that I am at the ideal weight. I work out 3 to 5 times a day. I'm attending an online service or whatever spirituality I call it, Gus, God, universe, source, spirit, whatever it is. My income is X and X. My relationship is this. And really say it with feeling as if it's already here and done. And then listen to that when you wake up in the morning. Listen to that before you go to bed. And that can help you also sit there and imagine and visualize and connect to it as if it's here and done. And do that enough and impress that upon your subconscious enough, you'll start thinking differently. And in thinking differently, you'll become different. And when you become different, you'll act different. Your emotions, your vibration that you set up by your thoughts will get you into action in your body. And that's kind of the action you take. And the action you take produces your results. So if you're not liking your results, back it up. You get your results from your action. You take action based upon the vibration you're in. And the vibration you're in is based upon the thoughts you're letting in. So if your results are not what you want, it starts with your thinking. So start thinking into results and start thinking from the goal as if it's already here and done. There's plenty more exercises and things that I can give you to really hone in and start working on impressing upon your subconscious and living from if it's here and done. But yeah, I want to do another pause for any questions or ahas. Because I can go all day.
I love the reminder of the card. I had that for years, and I'm so glad that you brought that up again. I had one of those. I have it on my mirror. I had a copy of it like in my car on my visor, so I was seeing it all the time. And on the back of the card, I had the verse that knock, ask and you shall receive, knock and the door will be open. I had that on the back. But there is so much truth to that. And having that reminder with you all the time is just so powerful.
Yeah,
this too is like super resonating with me right now. I'm in a very, I don't know, transitional stage, I would say. I'm working on like a side hustle for myself. I bought an LLC last night, so we're going for it. And this is like really resonating with me, like getting me excited for the things that I'm supposed to be excited for, if that makes sense. Like, I know what I love, and I'm really excited to like move forward and write it down and have it with me and get to, go to work every day so I can do the things I want to do. Like it makes me excited to work more, I guess, so that I can focus on, my own thing, and hopefully that'll take off and whatever not, but that's different. I like that. Like have faith, not fear.
Yeah. I know what got me on that one is you can't see either and you have to choose one. So why not choose faith, even though fear can be so comfortable? And why fear is so comfortable and being where we're at, because we've been at that vibration and been there for so long. It's so interesting how 90 to 95% of the population worldwide just get up and do what they do every day because that's what they do. And the CGoals scare them too much, or they're too far away, that they would rather live in the here and now and knowing at least what they know and connecting to these relationships, because they become dependent on the dependency of, that's a bad relationship for me, or this person's vibrating at a lower level, or at least I know what I'll get, even though it's not the result I desire, even though it's nowhere near what I want to go for. 90 to 95% of the people would rather sit in what they're sitting in and stay where they're staying because it's comfortable and they can control, and they at least know that the results they'll get, they'll know. You know who you're hanging out with. You know that if you're not expanding, you're staying still. So Bob says, we live in an ocean of motion. We are always expanding. We are always moving in energy, 100% energy. So if you're not growing and if you're not shooting up for more of a seagull, like shooting up to the moon, I always say, shoot for the moon, you'll land in the stars. Either way, who you become in the process. And so it's just, and that's why I have so much passion around this, because I'm telling you, if I'm sitting here today in this chair talking like this, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Because I had a 13-year career where I was making, I think top was like $55,000, $60,000 a year. And I was just like, I went to work every day. I had a 401k, paid vacation. I had it great. And it wasn't until someone said something around me where I was like, what? Like, whoa, I didn't grow up, thinking that I could do or be or have anything. You have to work hard. You have to get to work. You have to have this and that, and it's got to be hard if you're going to make money, and that's how we were raised, many of us. And it wasn't until I started taking leaps of faith. I mean, I left my 13-year career, 6 weeks paid vacation, 401k, knowing everything, taking the company from 11 to 40 employees, wearing every single hat, jumping to real estate, 100% commission, letting go of everything, not knowing one thing. I mean, talk about a terror barrier. And yet I did that. And it wasn't easy. I failed forward tons, and it worked. I made it work. I made the best of it. I became someone that I would have needed a telescope to look back and see who I once was. That's how much I grew. And that was just the first one. I do this year after year after year. And every year when I hit my CGoal, I'm like, whoa. And of course, I know, because I know the process and I know it will happen. And yet there's so much beauty and so much just, like, wow. And there it is again. There it is again, of course. And yet you can have the appreciation, the gratitude, and the just the universe. It's just an amazing thing if you plug in, because here's the deal. There are laws of the universe, whether you're spiritual or not, whether you believe it or not, there are laws of the universe. And I didn't understand this, and I didn't even know about this. So you can either plug in and play, or you can just be the 95% that just go through life, ignoring them. Don't worry about them, whatever. This is the way it's got to be. It's got to be hard. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. And putting on the blinders and just doing it. So it's so amazing. And I'm telling you, year after year, I had to start small because I came from a pretty hard rock bottom when I found this information. And I had to first work on worthiness. I'm worthy. I'm worthy to have a house that I want, or a car that I want, or a income that I want. I mean, I had to start from a very different place than a lot of people. And again, you don't have to be there. And yet it's who you become when you step out and you really, really choose faith and let everything else work itself out, that it's beautiful.
I love that so
you.
much. I started working on myself like probably 2 years ago now, and I've recently found like I'm still here and everything's okay and everything's gonna be okay. Like it was scary at first. I left corporate America as well, and it was like, oh God, like what am I gonna do? And now I'm in such a better place than I was, because I wasn't working someone else's dream. Like I'm living how I want to live. And it's way better, and it is okay. And I did get uncomfortable, but it was so worth it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, it is. It's all about Steve Jobs. You can connect the dots backwards. You can't forward. So it's that leap. It's that just like doing it. And one thing Steve Jobs would say is he'd wake up every morning and ask himself, am I happy today? Am I happy doing what I'm doing? And if the answer was no for too long, then he knew something had to switch. It's like Martin Luther King. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just the first step. Just take the first step, and then the rest of the steps will present themselves. We get so hung up, and so many people on, that's why I think CGoals are, at least for the clients that I've worked with, so just detached from even how it can happen, because there's so much logic and reasoning and plans and all of that have to be put into place, because that's what we've always been told. And yet it's in taking the understanding that the way will be shown. It's a big paradigm to remove, let me tell you. And it's start small. So I tell them, start small, start playing with this, because immediately you'll see shifts, and you'll see things put into your path, and you'll see wins. And you don't have to go from 0 to 100 or 1 to 100, if it's, and you got to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So the level you play is the level you know, what you put in, you receive, you get back. So absolutely. I see I want to respect everyone's time for sure. Any questions, any ahas or things you might be thinking or going to look at doing for the rest of the day or maybe later today?
I'm going to make my new goal card.
Love it. Yes, and carry it around and feel it and think about it and just connect to it as much as you can throughout the day. I'm telling you, this has intentionality all written all over it. You truly have to show up. Thinking into results gives you the awareness, it gives you the tools, it gives you the how, and yet the intentionality that you put behind every morning when you wake up, choosing who do I want to show up today as? Who do I want to be? What am I going to do to get me towards my C goal? Even if it's 3 things, 3 calls, or 3 actions that can get you that much closer and on the path to your first base camp goal, on the way to your C goal, and make it something that's a little uncomfortable, at least one of them. Because the growth will happen there, I promise. Yeah. Oh, I see something in the chat. Yeah. Yes, I love it. Yes, thank you, Candace. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the staircase. Absolutely. Well, I am just so grateful you all took the time to be here today. Again, you'll have my link to schedule one-on-one with me. If you want to jump in any more or anything, let me know. Tomorrow, another really, really great one. There's a picture that we put together. The mind you don't know, you've never seen a picture. Well, I have something because we're so visual that will really give you an understanding of why we do what we do, even though we don't want to. So I am looking forward to tomorrow. If I can be helping in any way in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out. Until then, start thinking into results today.
Thank you.